Joy in the Lord has a common chord. It's rhyme and reason 531.
There's a rhyme and reason for your life. There's a rhyme and reason why.
Hey there, Tony here, and I hope your day is full of joy. Hope it's going wonderfully for you today. And I'm going to be talking about joy today, even though as I start this out, I'm going to say when I was about 4 years old, my parents split up. Not exactly the start of a joyful kind of theme here, is it? But my younger brother and I lived with our grandparents for a while. It was my dad's parents. And one thing I remember fondly about my grandmother was how she sang hymns while she did her housework. One of the hymns went like this: I've got the joy, 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 joy down in my heart, down in my heart, down in my heart. I got the joy, 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 joy. You remember that one? I hope you do. That's a good old joyful hymn. And even though I was a young boy, I could tell my grandmother definitely had that joy. And she had the joy of the Lord down in her heart. I could tell that, even as a little boy. Someone else who sang about joy in the Lord was King David. Now, King David wrote most of the Psalms, those, that large book of writings in the Old Testament, for those of you who aren't familiar. But David's songs weren't quite the same as grandmother's, not nearly. In fact, when you read through his lyrics, you get the idea that David's joy wasn't just that peace, love, and joy kind of joy, you know? You know what I'm talking about, that peace, love, and joy kind? Yeah. Anyway, like in Psalm 21, these are some lines from Psalm 21 that King David wrote. Your hand will find all your enemies. Your right hand will find those who hate you. You shall make them as a fiery oven in the time of your anger. The Lord shall swallow them up in his wrath, and the fire shall devour them. Down in my heart, down in my... It's not quite the same, is it? So somehow I just can't picture my grandmother singing those words, your hands will find all your enemies, your right hand will find those who hate you. I mean, it's just not going to work. So, I can see her in the kitchen, had that apron on back when women would wear a dress all day long and work in that dress. Anyway, that was her. But she wouldn't be singing David's kind of lyrics, I don't think. But that's part of the awesome difference between men and women, really. And I'm talking about real men and real women. Women feel the joy on a much deeper, visceral level, and men feel it on a more of a mental level. That's not a hard and fast rule, and I don't mean that women don't think about it or that men don't feel it. We're just different, thank God. Now, I'm sure David felt the joy, 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 joy down in his heart too, but he apparently loved to sing about it using words that accounted for what God had done in his life. It's talking about taking down his enemies and, swallowing them up in his wrath and devour them and all that. I'm sure David found joy in his heart that God would personally watch out for him like that. But he didn't sing it the joy, 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 the kind of hymns that we think of, or especially not the way praise and worship music goes these days, where it's, I don't know, it sounds pretty feminized to me. Anyway, I won't go down that path right now. Well, which one are you? I mean, do you simply feel that joy down in your heart? You want to sing like grandmother did? Or do you have a list of reasons why joy reigns in your heart? There's no, one isn't better than the other. It's what you identify with. If you want to sing like grandmother, and that's wonderful. Or if you want to, lay out your sound reasoning why God's taking care of you, watching out over you and all that, like David did, that's awesome too. But either way, your joy expresses in your heart and then progresses. Share it with somebody else today. I'm convinced that if they try it, they'll be hard-pressed to deny it, and their life might go another way. You never can tell. Well, sometimes you can tell. People always say, you never can tell. Actually, sometimes you can tell. But I digress. I'm going in another direction again. And apparently the caffeine has kicked in, and I haven't even had a cup of coffee since, I don't know, quite a while. Yikes. I got to tune this one out now so that I can end up with some sort of sanity here at the end of the Rhyme and Reason podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. If I haven't told you lately, I really do appreciate it. It helps a lot if you or somebody you know could go to iTunes and leave me a review, or any place that you tune in if they have the capability of leaving reviews. I'm found all over the place. The Rhyme and Reason podcast is. I'm on Spotify, pretty big name, right? I'm on, hey, I didn't mention this. I don't think I mentioned this yet. I can now be found on Amazon, because Amazon is doing podcasts now. They offer up podcasts. And I believe you can even ask for it through Alexa if you have the Alexa device. Alexa, play the Rhyme and Reason podcast with Tony Funderburk. I don't know if that's what you'd say, but something like that might bring me up right in your whatever device you're using with Amazon Alexa. Anyway, I'm on Amazon. I'm on iTunes, Google Play, and any of those places you can leave me a review, particularly on iTunes, because they're the big boys on the block. They're still the dominating factor in podcast. Leave me a 10-star review, even though it only goes up to 5. And I would appreciate that because it certainly helps me to get higher up in the rankings and more people could tune in. If you think it's worth it, that would be great. I'd appreciate it. Until next time, this is Tony reminding you that life does have rhyme and reason because God made you.
There's a